live and direct from anywhere in the world. It's The Kelley Show with Dr. Kelley Mondesire.
Hello and welcome back to The Kelley Show, real people with real stories in real time. And today, I'm not going to be your hostess with the mostest. Today, I get to be roasted and toasted by my dear friend, Shelley-Ann Quilty, who's going to give it to me, ask me the questions, so my audience, my viewers can finally find out who I actually am. So welcome, Shelley, to The Kelley Show, and take it away, your boss lady.
I would like to swear in the witness, please. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to put you in the hot seat like that, but it is a pleasure, Dr. Kelley, to be the one who is asking you questions today so we can have this discussion and conversation and your viewers can get to know you better. I will admit to your audience and to you that I am in awe of you. A word that comes to mind in describing you, or I guess it's two words, is that you are a Renaissance woman. It seems to me that you're one of the rare individuals who is extremely accomplished at everything that you put your hand to, whether it's with respect to the practice of medicine, whether it's with respect to your successful career in television, whether it's with respect to your White Wolf Advisory Services consulting company. There's nothing you cannot do and not do exceptionally well. So hat tip to you, and I bow to you. And I'm excited to do a deeper dive into not just your career and professional endeavors, but who you are as a person and what drives and motivates you. So let's start at the beginning with respect to where were you born, and can you tell us a bit about your family?
Well, I was born in Queens, New York. It's a borough of New York City, United States. My mother, in this photo here, was Italian. My father was Irish. I always considered myself a mutt because the Italian side was always saying you're Italian. The Irish side was always saying you're Irish. And I got really sick and tired of everybody arguing of what I was. So I just became a mutt. And that photo on the bottom is my mother on her 99th birthday, and that's my older brother, Kevin, there. My mother was a model in her younger days, and when she was in her 60s and 70s, went back to modeling hair for Revlon. And I was the only sibling who had achieved a master's degree, and that is a photo of me when I finally gained my master's in fine arts, well after I was designing Super Bowl commercials and so many other shows that many of you saw during the 90s. So that's where I come from. And the photo on the left is me when I was about 4.5 years old. My aunties dressed me up and were laughing, and they took this photo. And interestingly enough, we talked about this earlier. It seems that every photo that's taken of me when it's, for the moment, spontaneous, I always seem to be in that same pose, and I call it attitude. And it's not a good attitude. It's not an attitude of bad attitude. It's the attitude that's, I suppose, appropriate for the moment. And if I could define myself, I think it's all about attitude.
And touching upon that, one, it's a beautiful pose. So if it isn't broke, why fix it? And it is timeless. Why is it that attitude is so important to you?
How you approach and your attitude towards any situation all depends on your attitude as you go into it. And attitude is everything. If for instance, I had a difficult producer that stepped into my production facility and said, I want this, that, and the other thing. And, you know, they were not very nice about what they wanted. I could cop an attitude and have a miserable time spending the next 22 hours in the room doing the edits and creating something beautiful for this person. Or I could have the attitude and sing a song in my head of, this person is going to pay my mortgage for the next 3 months and I don't have to live with this person. So let's just get to it and get on with it.
So it sounds to me like attitude is a lot to do with one's mindset. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I had a friend, may he rest in peace, Keith Harris, that always used to say, Kelley, you have to have an attitude of gratitude. And I always try to be gracious and thankful for what comes my way as well.
Wise words. Okay. They're good to live by. What is going on here? Is that Mickey Mouse?
That's Mickey and Gurgi. And when I first began my career in television, dig the hairdo, right?
Yeah,
that was, I think that might have been 1982 or 1983, somewhere around there. And Disney came out with this film, The Black Cauldron. And at the time, I had this god-awful job in radio for NBC's FM station. And I was writing copy for commercials, producing them, doing radio commercial. I hated it. It was a thankless, horrible job. But the WNBC studios were right across the hall. And one day, the receptionist said to me, hey, Kelley, you got to come out here. You have to see this. And I said, don't bother me. I'm busy. And she said, no, you have to come and see. I said, who is it? Mickey Mouse? You can't make this up. So I go out to see who she's talking about because there's always a celebrity or somewhere, you know, always in the building. And it was Mickey. And so I just ran across the hall screaming, Mickey, Mickey, it's you, Mickey, Mickey, Mickey. And because I've always been.
How did Mickey react?
I think Mickey wanted to run for the hills, but the elevator door wasn't open. And so I grabbed onto Mickey, and then his little fuzzy companion was Gurgi. And of course, the agent is there. And of course, the characters don't speak because they're in character. But for me, they're real because everything is real. I'm an animator, you know, everything is real. So the agent said, we're here for the tour. And I said, well, I'll give you the $2 tour. So I grabbed everybody and off we went, and I gave them a tour that they would never have seen. I brought them into the guts and bolts of television, where they actually do the production, into the studios, into broadcast operation control, where it's like, you know, it's like a starship control deck. And then one of the most interesting parts of the $2 tour, if you knew where to go, was there was a staircase between the 5th and 6th floors in the bowels of the building. And you had to take a staircase to get to a staircase to get there. And there was a guy who worked there, and his phone was from like the 1950s. No one knew who he was, what he did. I don't even think he knew what he did at the point. But anyways, I'm here for the pipe. This is what you said. And he would let you go down a little half staircase, and there was this red standpipe, big, huge red steel pipe. And this is part of the $2 tour, but because what people don't know was much of the steel that Rockefeller Center is constructed with, when I guess they mold the steel pipes, or would they forge, you know, whatever that process is. Thank you. It had the Nazi swastika.
Oh, yeah, they wouldn't want that getting out to the public.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I said goodbye to Mickey and Gurgi. About 4 hours later, everybody in the office was like, where were you? And I was like, don't bother me. But anyway, one of the perks of the job was I had free tickets for everything. So I've seen Elton John's second row center in Madison Square Garden. I had 4th row stage for Rod Stewart. I've seen Tina Turner. I've seen everyone, but I had 10th row tickets to see the Black Cauldron and Radio City Music Hall the next night. And I went in, and in the Black Cauldron, Gurgi is a very selfish little character. And now I'm seeing my little friends that I just met the day before. And at the end of the film, towards the end, Gurgi jumps into the Black Cauldron. I still want to cry, to save his friends. Right? And so I start hysterical crying in Radio City Music Hall. And all these people and these kids are like, what's wrong with that lady? I'm like, Mickey, Gurgi. So of course in Disney, you know, Gurgi is saved, he saved the day, but that's one of the characters or celebrities that you would meet down the halls of NBC way back in the day. You never knew who you were going to meet. And the photo on the right is after I had gotten into electronic graphics, and I had my own production company. And how I got into the graphics end of the business was I was in that miserable job in radio. And during my stint at NBC prior to radio, I had been in about, I don't know, it was either 11 different departments in 9 months or 9 different departments in 11 months. I can't remember. I've just about done everything you can do in television. And someone said, I have something you should see. And he brought me up to the graphics department. And I said, they make how much money on these like $1 million, what looked like an Etch-a-Sketch? And he said, yeah. So, all right. So I went and took like, you know, this exclusive weekend course. Only one place in Manhattan had a course on how to use this machine. Anyways, long story short, I get this temporary summer job working for the Today Show in the graphics department. And in those days, the pens were attached by a metal wire. And you couldn't do all the special effects that we have, you know, today. And they give me this photograph of this guy. Now you have to understand, I woke up at 11 o'clock at night. I'm at work at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm half asleep. I'm smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee just to stay awake. And they say, we want this guy, do his headshot, put him on the back of a Russian flag, and give us a hammer and pickle. We used to call the hammer and sickle the hammer and pickle, okay, in TV. So I go, all right. So, right. So I have to put the photo under a camera, digitize it, put it in. I'm like, shoot, man, don't they have another photo of this guy? There's coffee all over this guy's head. So anyway, I go in and I discovered that if you unscrewed the nib of the electronic pen, you could achieve a transparency. So I spent over 2 hours or so using this, what I figured out, what I discovered quite by accident, taking a transparent piece of his skin and moving it over. So I took this coffee stain off his head. It was brilliant. I was so proud of myself. So I saved the cutout in what we used to call these RSDs, these big storage units. And of course, I go to sleep. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. My lunchtime was 3 to 4 in the morning. And I wake up, everything hunky-dory. So the next night, they give me the same project. So I go to look for the photograph that I had cut out the night before, and I don't see it. So now I'm kind of like annoyed. So now it only takes me about an hour and a half. You know, I'm like, I can't believe they haven't done a different photograph of this guy. So this went on for about 4 nights, the entire week. And that last Thursday night, which would be the Friday morning show, I didn't go to sleep in the engineer's lounge for lunch. I stayed awake, and I hear screaming and yelling coming from the control room, screaming and yelling. And I'm like, ooh, let's go see who's getting yelled at. So boom, 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 boom. You know, I'm this 24-year-old blonde kid, new, fresh, you know, and they're screaming, and I see my graphic up on about 13 monitors, and I totally ignore them, and I'm there smoking my cigarette, happy as a clam. I said, isn't it great? You know, I can't believe you don't have a different photograph of this guy. And everybody stops and looks at me, and it's Steve Friedman, the executive producer of the Today Show, and George Pohl, the director, and everybody's just speechless. And I see sheer terror on the art director's face and everybody else. And I said, what? I said, exactly.
Why the terror?
Pardon?
Why was there sheer terror on their faces?
Because they said, did you do that? I said, yeah. they said, how did you do that? And I told them, well, they all came over to my paint box, which was the machine at the time. And I showed them, I said, isn't that great? Immediately, they took me off the daily routine and put me on special effects I became a master compositor because the guy in question was Mikhail Gorbachev, and I was taking his birthmark off his head every night.
He does have a very distinctive marking on his head.
And they were going crazy. And they couldn't believe this, like this dumb blonde, somebody, I took it out, got a coffee stain on his head. So, fast forward many years later, I was contracted by a company called Internews International to go over to Moscow and lecture to over 200 Russian journalists on how to televise their presidential Democratic election. I believe it was Boris Yeltsin at the time. It was 1994. So I had petitioned the executive VPs of all the networks to put together everything they had in terms of presidential elections. So it's the opens, the show opens, the bumpers, all the stats, everything that you see behind the presenters during the elections. And so I put all that together and I go over, and because I was a beta tester for Adobe, Apple, Media 100, all these different programs that now are all integrated and interfaced into, desktop systems. And my company the company I owned was one of 6 worldwide that brought the proprietary $1 million pieces of equipment into the Mac platform. So I said, I called up these people. I said, listen, boys, because they were all boys at the time. I said, listen, boys, if you really want to make it great and you want some good PR and you want to get into Russia, here's what you're going to do for me. So I had 50 units, 50 Macs, 50 Media 100 editing system, 50 software programs, every single program, special effects programs shipped over to the 50 different news organizations over the entire, span of Russia at the time. And so I helped them design their, presidential open, this and that and the other thing, another story for another day. But hence, every day there was this bear in this pedestrian mall. And there was a guy who would take us over. Right.
Yes.
And every day, one of the few things I brought to Russia with me, they told me, was bring toilet paper and bring peanut butter. I thought they were kidding. They weren't kidding. You could be in a swanky restaurant having a 5-course amazing meal, and the waiters had white gloves, and you go down to the basement and it was like spin back. It was like horrible. No doors, no toilet paper, nothing. If you went to toilet paper, it was like you had to pay for it. So every day I would see this little bear, and every day I would make him peanut butter sandwiches because I was there for quite a bit of time. So the one day it didn't rain or snow, and this is October, and I was freezing, as you can see. It was my big day. And the bear every day would eat his peanut butter sandwich, but then he would drink condensed milk out of the can. And he was like a cartoon. He would go, glub, 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 glub. And his little feet would go up in the air, and I would just like stand there fascinated, like I had to get my hands on this bear. So I gave the guy his $5 American, okay, and he takes the photo.
Were you trying to defect by having the bear get a likeness for peanut butter sandwiches?
I don't know. What did I get? Well, bear. I was giving the bear free food, and he really liked the peanut butter sandwiches. So as you can see, I pull the bear towards me, and I'm snuggle buddying him, fuzzy, buzzy ears and everything, and I'm like kissy, kissy, and he takes the photo, and I'm like because I got a bear, I got a real bear, fuzzy, fuzzy, duzzy bear, and he goes, "Lady, get off my bear." So fast forward, I always had this photo in my medical clinic in the treatment room, and very often my patients would look at it and they say, "What kind of dog is that?" I say, "It's not a dog, it's a bear." And they're like, "It's a bear."
But I love in that story that it was not like you trying to get away from the bear. It was this guy telling you, get off my bear.
Lady, get off my bear. Oh, I love that bear. He was adorable.
Oh, so tell us, one, what drew you into Muay Thai, and does this reflect you in the ring doing Muay Thai?
And the photo on the left, Muay Thai is Thai style kickboxing, and we're called the art of the 8 limbs because we fight with our elbows and knees as well. And I promised my mother I would always fight with a helmet on because she could care less if I broke my bones. The only thing she cared about was that my nose wouldn't be broken. So my mother would be praying the rosary and I'd have to call her after every fight. And she'd never say, did you win or lose? Are you okay? She always say, how's your nose? And I'd say, my nose is fine. But people would take photos. And like any woman that goes into the ring, you have stuff you need to work out. And I had stuff I needed to work out. But the photo on the left is called the Y Crew. And it's a traditional dance that you do before a fight. You go into all 4 corners and you go into the center and you're praying to anybody. You're supposed to be praying to the gods for strength and that you win. But I was like, what the hell am I doing here? A, and B, who's ever out there listening, please help me. So
that seems like a wise approach to, start out.
Yeah, I believe in covering all my bases. So anyways, the photo on the right, the bug is kind of in the way, but this is where my trainer, Phil Crew, very, very famous trainer. He trained Georges St-Pierre. I fought for Phil Nurse. And Phil taught me how to fight right-handed. And I was always starting my fights right-handed. And when Phil would scream switch, I would switch to my left. And this was taken just at the moment. This girl was much taller than me and had many fights under her. I switched to the left and I knocked her clear across the ring. And I stopped. I'll never forget, I stopped. And I went, wow. And Phil and everybody in my corner is screaming, go after her, go after her. And I go, okay. And I literally ran across and I grabbed her in a headlock. And as I was bashing her head in, I said, geez, I'm really sorry about this.
You've got to be the politest fighter that's ever been.
I felt bad, but anyway, so then at the end of the fight, you're standing there, and the ref has got you both by the hand, and they're doing the scores, and I hear, and this was televised. This was a big deal. It was televised and everything, and I hear now. Thank God, I always wear my lipstick. Bad luck not to wear your lipstick, and you know me, Shelley. You never see me without lipstick. So, anyways,
absolutely.
I always had lipstick. Red lipstick to match the red shorts. So anyways, I'm waiting for the decision and I hear, Kelley. And I looked up and it's this guy, Rob Carbone, I used to work with on the Today Show. He goes, Kelley, is that you? I said, hey, Carbone, is that you? He said, Kelley, what are you doing down there? I said, what the hell does it look like I'm doing down here? I said, hey, yo, Carbone, get the lipstick. How do I look? Good. So anyway, I win the fight. But fast forward, I was 35, I think. And we don't go by age in Muay Thai. We go by weight category. I fought at 115. And my last fight, I was 42. I was 42 in that fight. I was 42. I started fighting at 35. I was 42 in that photo. My last fight, I was 44, and that's the center photo. And it's a very important photo, and I carry this in my wallet for a reason. And I do carry these 3 photos in my wallet because I was 44. I came in second in the nationals that year in my weight class. And I stepped out of the ring, and a friend of mine who is a professional photographer, he said, Kelley, don't move. So I didn't move because I didn't know, like, what? And I had been stretching at the time because I was, was tight because I just came out of the ring. I just came in second in the nationals, and he snapped that shot just like that.
It's an extraordinary picture.
Yeah, that's 44 years old. I don't know too many 44-year-olds that fought in the ring that were girls that look like that. But I keep these 3 photos in my wallet because anytime life gets difficult or I don't think I can do it I don't think I can get through the day because of, whether it was COVID or, whatever life brings you. I take out those photos and I say, who are you? And my answer to myself is, you are a Muay Thai fighter. And winners don't quit, quitters don't lose. No, how does it go? Winners don't quit, quitters don't win, and losers never try, as we say in the ring.
Phenomenal. Gosh, you are a true warrior, though. I wouldn't mess with you. I mean, I wouldn't mess with you anyway. I like you, but I certainly.
Nah, I'm a lover. I'm a lover.
How strong you are. It's like, oh God, you got all sorts.
I always say I look like Wonder Bread, but it's always the Wonder Bread you got to watch out for.
Exactly. So I know you're a big aficionado when it comes to motorbikes. One, what drew you into loving motorcycles, and where have you ridden, and what is reflected here in these photographs with respect to the places that you've been to and that are reflected here?
Well, one of my ex-boyfriends was a governor of the New York Stock Exchange, and he also owned a Harley dealership. And many years ago, I had been a passenger in a head-on collision that was fatal in Portugal. And where prior to that, I was going to get a bike, I just put the kibosh on it. And I realized when I became involved with this gentleman that if I didn't get on the back of a bike, the relationship wouldn't grow, because it was a very big part of his life. So one thing led to another, and I eventually sucked it up and decided, okay, I'll take motorcycle safety school and get a bike. And they rolled in this Fat Boy, which is the model bike Arnold Schwarzenegger has in the Terminator. So me and Arnie, we got it going on. So this bike is a little over 850 pounds the way it's loaded. And people said to me when I broke up with the boyfriend, well, you'll sell the bike, right? And I said, why? And they said, well, you're going to have to ride by yourself. And I said, so what? So, of course, I was scared to death to get on this bike by myself and ride over the GW bridge or do whatever I was doing. But I realized, as I did when I was 20 years old, if you don't get out there and just do it, if you wait for somebody, you're going to be stuck in that little bedroom in Queens forever. So get out there and do it. And that's what I did. And so the photo on the left is me in front of the Fat Boy on a winter day. I've actually got 4 layers on underneath the leathers. The photo on the right is me when I went cross country with my buddies to Montana. And that's why I earned.
It does look like big sky country.
Oh, it doesn't disappoint. I always wanted to see a Montana sky. So we did in 10 days. We did over 13 states. It was phenomenal. It was a great ride. Life changing. By the way,
as a practical matter, and I could see from your other pictures that you're incredibly strong. How do you shift a bike like that in order to be even able to get on it to ride it?
I don't know. You just get on the bike wants to come. It's a heavy bike to get up, but I just do it. And I'm only 5'2.5", so they had to put a reach seat on it so my feet could reach the ground, and they had to put the handlebars back so I could reach the handlebars. And because at the time I had so many different pairs of shoes, over 55 pair of shoes alone, not including the boots. My shoe repairman put an extra 1/8 of an inch on the soles and heels and nailed them to the boots, because he said, Bella, bellissima, you're too good of a client. I can't lose you. So that's why I always wear the same boots. But once you're up and you go, and the Harley wants to stay up. And the photo in the middle is another trip. And I go all over the place, all over the time. I've been all over the United States on my bike. But I borrowed a bike from a childhood buddy of mine that said, come on down to Texas and ride with me and my boys. So I went out with him and his 2 boys. And as I was 6 o'clock in the morning going out to wipe the bike down, there were these 2 big guys, and one had this helmet. And my natural inclination first was, wow, are those horns empty? Because this is a good drinking bucket. Like, let me bring this to the next
Viking-esque, yeah.
Yeah, fill it up. But then my second thought was, hey, you got to take a photo of me in this hat, you know. And again, that pose is always the same. It's this fun. I always find
the attitude. Is that right?
It's the attitude. It's the attitude. So it's a lot of fun. I love the Harley.
Now, Kelley, there's two terms, motorcycling terms that I wanted to ask you about. I thought they were conditions that one would have from putting in the kind of miles that you have on your Harleys. But could you tell us what is bun burner and iron ass? And if it's not a HIPAA violation, have you had those?
Well, I have both. I have iron ass. You know, I did it with a couple of guys, and they had all their paperwork. I had all the paperwork. I never sent the paperwork in, but I do have iron ass. After you do iron ass, you have a flat ass. And it's a good thing I got a big butt, because otherwise it would have been flattened. It means you do 1,000 miles within 24 hours. And bun burner means you've done, it's either 1,800 or 1,600 miles in 36 hours. It's one or the other, 1,800 or 1,636 hours. But after a while, it doesn't really matter. So you'd only stop to my bike takes 165 miles. I have a 5-gallon tank. So we would stop every 160 or 63 miles, take 10 minutes to gas up, pee if you had to, swig something down, and off you went. You have to get the receipts of everywhere you stop. And then when you end the ride, when you achieve that goal, you go to like a Harley-Davidson dealership or somewhere where they'll sign off that they've seen the, the odometer and all that. And, you know, it's a boy thing, I think, but you get all these medals and this and that. And it's like, so I'm like, yeah, whatever. You know, it's a lot of fun. But I didn't realize what a big deal it was until I came back from the trip and went to some of these dealerships and talked about my adventures, and, you know, people were just like dumbfounded.
That is dumbfounding in terms of, I would expect you to be on a saline solution, having to go those sorts of distances in that amount of time. That's extraordinary.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's fun. It was fun. Yeah. I've seen this country on the back of that bike, and I'll tell you, there's nothing like it.
Wow. I think that's probably the best place and way to see the United States. Ooh, what is this beautiful flower?
This is
and
a great.
Is it your favorite, by the way?
Yes, it's my favorite. And the reason why I have this flower as my favorite is because it represents life, the green, but also white is pure. And we all need fresh starts, reinvention, purity, cleanliness in mind, thought, and heart. And that's what the gardenia represents to me. It's life's beauty. Oh no, we ran out of time. Holy cow. Well, to catch the rest of the story, you're just going to have to subscribe and stay tuned for part 2 of the birthday episode, where I'll tell more tales and tell you who I actually am. So stay tuned. Don't miss it. Subscribe. So Shelley-Ann Quilty is going to continue to interview me. You don't want to miss part 2 because it's the best part of all. I'll see you then. Bye-bye now.
If you would like to be a guest on The Kelley Show, send us an email with your contact information, where in the world you are, and a brief description of the story you'd like to share today.